Hello, hello. This is the one and only 5D Transformations. It's a blessing to be here. And today I wanted to talk to you all, specifically my ENFPs, because, I talk about the different personality types, talk about, the different functions. But being an ENFP myself, I don't want to forget about my ENFPs, man. And I wanted to drop three things that I would tell an ENFP to help improve their journey, help them be more successful, help them be more confident, and help them, understand themselves more. So the first thing I want to say to my ENFPs, number one, is, you actually are very brilliant. And I mean it in this sense. ENFPs have a very unique viewpoint of life compared to most of the people around you. When you have extroverted intuition and when it's paired with extroverted thinking, you're able to look at life very objectively. You're almost able to see all the different perspectives, the different ideas, because extroverted intuition means that you're not hanging on to your idea. You're able to receive everyone else's ideas out there, right? Makes you a very receptive person. And then when you look at extroverted thinking, it allows you to be very receptive to people's thoughts. So that means you now have the ability to be very receptive to people's thoughts and people's ideas. And I want you to understand that's very unique. That it's generally very hard for people to open their perspective and take in someone else's perspective. The majority of people like to cling or like hang on to their, ideas and thoughts that they're comfortable with, that they're familiar with. So number one, I got to just give you kudos to being a person that's willing to hear everyone's perspective. What I want you to understand is there's a brilliance in that, because once you're able to take all of these ideas, filter through them, and figure out what idea resonates with you most, what you'll be able to find is that a lot of the time you come to some of the most balanced conclusions because you didn't just go with the first idea that you got. You didn't just run with the first idea that you might have been conditioned with. You actually sourced through different perspectives before you came to your perspective. So I think that deserves a lot of respect. And I think a lot of the time people look at ENFPs as if they aren't the most rational, or don't have the most solid forms of logic. But what you'll find is ENFPs a lot of the time can give you the best perspective, because unlike a lot of other types, you didn't go in with the preconceived notion of what this was or what that was. You waited, you heard different perspectives, and then you came to a conclusion. And what you'll find is that actually allows you to give the most balanced perspective and the most objective perspective to people. So continue to understand the power of that, and take pride and appreciative, be appreciative of that function and that ability, because the majority of types can't do that. The second thing I want to say to help the ENFPs out there, the hard part is you don't have a strong introverted thinking function. So even though you're hearing all these different perspectives, all these different ideas, all these different thoughts, it's hard for you to figure out, well, what do I think? And what you'll find is, the tool that you use to figure that out is introverted feeling. And a lot of the time, people think introverted feeling is just this mushy, feeling based form of making judgments. They think it's just about values, but it's not just about values. It's about what aligns with you, what resonates with you. And what you'll find is, when you're using that function to pierce through information, it actually is very special, because you're not just agreeing with something because it's logical, or because that's what, because people think logic means it's fact. No, it can be logical to rob somebody, right? It could be logical to steal, it could be, which is basically similar things, but, it could be logical to, be a racist or to be oppressive, right? Because why would I, lessen my, position for someone else, right? So it takes a deeper level of, it takes something deeper than just logic to understand why you shouldn't oppress people, why you shouldn't just be selfish, right? And so it's not just about values, it's a different form of logic. And what it is it's rationale. See, introverted thinking is logic, extroverted thinking is rationale. So the way I look at it is introverted thinking is 1 + 1 = 2. Well, I'm this, they're that, so I'm better, right? Or this is what everyone says is correct, so I'm gonna do that because that is what everyone says is correct. So, how do we come up with different conclusions aside from the conclusions that we were given by society or by the world or by our parents? Well, you need to have rationality as well. See, rationale deals with ratios, and ratios is division. So you're dealing with division and multiplication. One thing I noticed about extroverted thinking is it's less logical and less linear, and it's more so exponential, right? So a logical person who might depend on introverted thinking might say, well, I'm going to quit this because it's not working. Or, you know, I can't be a carpenter because my dad was a lawyer, right? So, I got to be a lawyer. But what rationale will say is, okay, even though you're not a lawyer, if you continue to get good at carpentry, right, you might get so good, right? It will give you give you a different ratio. Oh, I'll be able to, have enough money to, do law later, or I don't need to be a lawyer because a lawyer equals out to this amount of money. But being a carpenter, I'll be able to equal that amount of money. And as long as I'm making a good amount of money, it's I'm getting to the same end game. So my whole point is, you're not just using introverted feeling to make your decisions. You're looking at a rationale. You're using ratios. You're saying, okay, this divided by that. If I try this, even though it's not logical, but if I go from this point and then I do that and then I get here, I'm gonna end up in the same spot, right? So it really gives you this innovative ability. It allows you to not just be stuck in the linear form of what everyone's doing or what you should do. And that is where a lot of your ingenuity comes from. And that's where a lot of your genius exists. And another thing about introverted feeling is you do things that align with you, which means you're not going to just accept logic if it doesn't feel true. And like, I can't speak for every ENFP. Obviously, all ENFPs are different. But from my experience as an ENFP, what's brought me to some very profound understandings and truths is that I always don't just make judgments off of what is logical. Of course, I value logic, I use it, but I also have to make sure it aligns, because sometimes something might seem to be true, but something doesn't feel right. You're like, hold on, something about that doesn't feel 100% true. And that will make you question and look for something else. And then you'll find more data, and then you'll find the thing that actually fully aligns. And what you'll find out is, oh, that seems logical, but that's actually not true. And then this thing that I found is actually gave me the full piece of what I needed. So a lot of that feeling is there for you to pierce through the BS, for you to be like, hold on, I'm not just going to accept something if it's 75% true or if it just makes sense. It has to truly feel, 100% be the truth, and it has to resonate within me that it's just pure truth. And I feel like when you operate like that, that's where you come up with, soundproof logic that can't be moved or disproved because it feels 100% true. And then when you use your extroverted thinking and you use your rationale, it checks across the board. So that's the ability you have as an ENFP when you have that introverted feeling and extroverted thinking. Okay. And then the third thing I want to say is, people think ENFPs are these super intuitive, airy, feely type of people. But what I'm here to say is, you have introverted feeling second and extroverted feeling third, which means your feeling and thinking is right in the middle. So you always have this ability to balance, all right, how do I feel versus what I know? How do I feel versus the facts? And you're always balancing the two. It's not like you're just going with your feelings, No, it's okay, this is how I feel, but let me get the facts. Okay, the facts are saying this, but I'm feeling like this. And then you're looking for this middle place, and then eventually you find the balance. Okay, this logic, this makes sense on the thinking level, and it feels right. And now you're able to find the truth. And I think, like I said in my last video, one of the biggest things people got to understand is it's not just about logic, and it's also not just about how you feel. It's about both. So when you're able to balance the two, you realize ENFPs have such a good viewpoint of truth and of logic, because they can think, it's their third function. That extroverted thinking is still strong, But that introverted feeling isn't over dominant because it's second. So it's not like the first function, right? Even though having introverted feeling as a first function provides its own level of brilliance and it's its own special thing, right? Every type is special. But for us in particular, when you have feeling and thinking in the second and third function, you're able to balance the two and figure out, a balanced form of understanding what's going on. And I think when you operate from a balanced place, you never want to make decisions just off of how you feel. And you never want to make decisions just off of logic, right? Because that's where people negate the emotional tone of the planet, of the people around you. That's how people can be selfish. That's how people can be alienated because nobody wants to be around them because they always just do what's logical. They're never paying attention to the environment of the room. So when you balance those two things, you realize that you have such a special ability to find truth. And I just want to empower you all to embrace these three things that I mentioned. And so that's that. Just wanted to, make that video for my ENFPs. We got more videos on the way. Make sure to check out the MBTI Magic course. It is currently available on my Patreon. You can see the link in the bio. Make sure to like and subscribe. We want to build the channel so I can get some more, awesome content out there to you. And aside from that, man, I'll see you all in the next video. It's the one and only 5D Transformations. Peace.